Sha'ul. This Hebrew word is the most common name for the abode of the dead in the Hebrew Bible. 65 times it appears. It is sometimes translated as the netherworld. It is important to mention that it was not seen primarily as a place of punishment. Though its etymology is debated, the word probably derives from the Hebrew verb to ask, Sha'al, the same root as for the name of Sha'ul, Saul. You remember Saul? He was a king who wanted to ask Sha'al something of a shadow that was in Sha'ul. Sha'ul, the king. Sha'al, to ask. Sha'ul, the abode of the dead. This etymology is culturally plausible because the ancients sought advice from the dead.
And the near dying.
Right. And those who were about to die, excellent, Mary, those who were about to die were considered to be prescient. They were close to the abode, they were close to entering into alternate reality. They were close to entering into the tree and traveling among the worlds. 1 Samuel chapter 28, verses 4 to 14. The Philistines rallied, and coming to Shunem, they encamped. Sha'ul, King Saul, too, mustered all Israel. They camped on Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine camp, he grew afraid and lost heart completely. He consulted Yahweh, but Yahweh gave no answer, neither in dreams, alternate state of consciousness, nor by Urim, these are lights that induce alternate states, visions, nor through prophets, those would be authorized shamanic figures. Then Saul said to his servants, "Find me a medium," that is to say, an unauthorized shamanic figure, through whom I can seek counsel. His slaves answered him, "There is a woman in Endor who is a medium." So he disguised himself, putting on other clothes, and set out with 2 companions. They came to the woman at night, and Saul said to her, "Divine for me. Conjure up the spirit, I tell you." We're going to work on that translation a little bit. But the woman answered him, "You know what Saul has done, how he expelled the mediums and diviners from the land. Then why are you trying to entrap me and get me killed?" But Saul swore to her by Yahweh, "As Yahweh lives, you shall incur no blame for this." "Whom do you want me to conjure up?" the woman asked him. "Conjure up Samuel for me," he replied. At this point in the story, Samuel, the prophet, is dead. He had had a relationship, you'll recall, with King Saul. When the woman saw Samuel, she shrieked at the top of her voice and said to Saul, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." But the king said to her, "Do not be afraid. What do you see?" "I see a God rising from the earth," she replied. "What does he look like?" asked Saul. "An old man is coming up wrapped in a robe," she replied. Saul knew that it was Samuel, and so he bowed his face to the ground in homage. Okay, let's look at what's going on here. When faced with an imminent attack from the Philistines, 1 Samuel chapter 28, King Saul, Sha'ul, first sought advice, Sha'al, from God, who, however, did not respond through the customary alternate state of consciousness channels, dreams, the Urim, or the prophets. 1 Samuel 28:6, Saul consulted Yahweh, but Yahweh gave no answer, neither in dreams, nor by Urim, nor through the prophets. That's when Saul consulted a medium who brought up the deceased Samuel. A medium is an unauthorized shamanic resource, an unauthorized shaman. Anthropologists confirm what the biblical record reports. People who seek to learn the will of God, whose abode is in alternate reality, specifically the upper world of the shamanic tree of life, the branches, will induce or hope to experience an alternate state of consciousness or an alternate state of awareness, dreams, visions, sky journeys, and the like. God routinely communicates with human beings in alternate states of awareness. In any case, 1 Samuel chapter 3. During the time young Samuel was minister to Yahweh under Eli, the word of Yahweh was scarce and vision infrequent. One day, Eli was asleep in his usual place. His eyes had lately grown so weak that he could not see. The lamp of God was not yet extinguished, and Samuel was sleeping in the temple of Yahweh where the ark of God was. Yahweh called to Samuel, who answered, "Here I am." He ran to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." "I did not call you," Eli answered. "Go back to sleep." So he went back to sleep. Again, Yahweh called Samuel, who rose and went to Eli. "Here I am," he said. "You called me." But Eli answered, "I did not call you, my son. Go back to sleep." Samuel did not yet recognize Yahweh, since the word of Yahweh had not yet been revealed to him. Yahweh called Samuel again for the third time. Getting up and going to Eli, he said, "Here I am. You called me." Then Eli understood that Yahweh was calling the youth. So he said to Samuel, "Go to sleep, and if you are called, reply, 'Speak, Yahweh, for your servant is listening.'" When Samuel went to sleep in his place, Yahweh came and stood there, calling out as before, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel answered, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Yahweh said to Samuel, "I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears it ring. On that day I will carry out against Eli everything I have said about his house, beginning to end. I announce to him that I am condemning his house once and for all because of this crime. Though he knew his sons were blaspheming God, he did not reprove them. Therefore I swear to Eli's house, no sacrifice or offering will ever expiate its crime." Samuel then slept until morning, when he got up early and opened the doors of the temple of Yahweh. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision, obviously, right? This is bad news for Eli. Maybe bad news for Samuel. Prophet's a hard job, right? You go you go speak on behalf of Yahweh the bad message, and what is the guy liable to do? Kill you as the representative of Yahweh. It happens again and again with the prophets, doesn't it? Okay, he's afraid to tell Eli the vision. But Eli called to him, "Samuel, my son." Uh-oh. He replied, "Here I am." Then Eli asked, "What did he say to you? Hide nothing from me. May God do thus to you and more, if you hide from me a single thing he told you." Oh boy. So Samuel told him everything and held nothing back. Eli answered, "It is Yahweh. What is pleasing in Yahweh's sight, Yahweh will do." Samuel grew up, and Yahweh was with him, not permitting any word of his to go unfulfilled. Thus all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, came to know that Samuel was a trustworthy prophet of Yahweh. Yahweh continued to appear at Shiloh, manifesting himself to Samuel at Shiloh through his word. Samuel's word spread throughout Israel. As seen in this reading from 1 Samuel chapter 3, people who seek to learn the will of God may also seek the assistance of a prophet, a holy man or shaman, who by definition has easy access to the realm of God and can mediate favors and information from that realm. In the absence of a holy man or prophet, which is an authorized broker with alternate reality, an authorized shaman, what might people be tempted to do? Well, you go seek out an unauthorized shaman. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 to 11. When you come into the land which Yahweh your God is giving you, you shall not learn to imitate the abominations of the nations there. Let there not be found among you anyone who causes their son or daughter to pass through the fire, like King Ahaz did to his son, immolation, or practices divination, or is a soothsayer, augur, or sorcerer, or who casts spells, consults ghosts and spirits, or seeks oracles from the dead. If a holy man or a prophet were to be absent, people might be tempted to seek out these alternate but forbidden sources of recourse to alternate reality, in which answers to questions and solutions to problems are often discovered by those who visit there. When King Saul failed to obtain answers to his questions from the usual approved sources mentioned above, he turned to one of the alternative sources banned by Deuteronomy and banished by him, a medium at Endor. Saul requests of the medium, "Divine for me by a spirit, and bring up for me whoever I shall name to you," in 1 Samuel 28, verse 8. The Hebrew phrase translated medium would be literally translated, a woman who is a mistress of ghosts, or mistress of shadows. In other words, a person who has access to and is capable of interacting with the spirit world, alternate reality. Spirits include those who abide in the lower world of the tree of life. Some scholars doubt that this is the ancient conception, yet anthropologists would argue in favor of its plausibility. They would identify this ghost as a familiar spirit or a helper spirit, even in antiquity. At the very least, the medium that Saul consulted was successfully able to contact the lower world where the dead and familiar helper spirits abide. Samuel rises from this lower world and communicates to Saul God's will that Saul and Israel should fall into the hands of the Philistines. As already noted, this netherworld called Sha'ul is at this point not primarily a place of punishment. It is simply, at this time, the time of the composition of 1 Samuel, the abode of the dead. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.